so that we can see how difficult it's for her to readapt. What the film came out of is really the very simple, basic story of imagining Maggie as a widow, someone who, her husband is gone and she's coming out of jail. She wants to get her kid back. I mean, something, I just wanted to make something that is humanly extremely simple, as universal as possible, but that I would then expand but using her as the core of the film, obviously. The most difficult thing for me was to invent a character she could relate to and I could relate to, in a sense that her culture is very different from mine. I mean, she's Chinese, she grew up in England, she lived in Hong Kong for a very long time. She has this weird relationship to her own roots. It's not very clear if her roots are in England, if they are in Hong Kong. Now, in a way, they are also in Paris. She is this. She's floating around, and first I thought it was extremely difficult to build a character on that, and then I realized that maybe that was the subject. That maybe maybe it's interesting because maybe there's something very modern, very much in touch with the way the world is changing today, to construct a character having very classic, universal emotions, that is also simultaneously a new character. Wanted to give her an opportunity to be herself in a film. I mean, to be closer to herself, to put it that way, in a film, in the sense that I don't think she's shown much of the person she is in her work in Chinese films. I mean, when she plays like the girlfriend of Jackie Chan, or she plays the Green Snake, or whatever with Choi Hak. I mean, very interesting films. But you don't even get a hint of the person Maggie is. Sometimes in a couple of melodramas here and there, there is something that would come across of her. But I think she's. I really do think that Maggie has learned her acting, doing a lot of groundwork. Meaning she's made so many films, and so many films that are very unambitious, popular comedies, genre films in Hong Kong. But ultimately, what she has discovered herself, and she has discovered that she could be herself on screen only through the work she has done with Wong Kar-wai. I mean, Wong Kar-wai is really the director who has trusted her to go a little beyond what she had been doing until that point. I mean, when he gave her that part in As Tears Go By, and then in Days of Being Wild, all the work she did with Stanley Kwan. I mean, in Center Stage, when I started imagining this character and therefore the story, we were still married, and it was my way of trying to answer a question that has been that had been around for a while, which was, can I eventually make a film with Maggie? I mean, because we had made a film together a few years before, Irma Vep, but I made that film when I hardly knew her. I mean, to me at that point she was just a Hong Kong movie star, which I admired. I thought she had this incredible presence. I thought she was a great actress, and working with her made me admire her more. But at that time I was filming a Hong Kong movie star. When we made Irma Vep in 1995, I think, early 1996 actually, I did not know her, so I filmed her from outside. Whereas when we made Clean, she was not a Hong Kong movie star. I was making a film with the person I had been living with for quite a while, which I knew as a person, which I knew which I knew in ways you never know the actresses you work with, and basically I felt that I could, using her most human side, bring out of her things that other filmmakers were not even aware of. So it was just this total shift of perspective that was interesting. She doesn't like to prepare or to work or to rehearse, and I personally hate it too. So we totally agree on that. But it's just that the moment she starts being that character, she kind of dives into it, and she becomes Emily, and as it's many actors function that way, but not to that extent, I would say. But Maggie always says, this is something Emily would do, this is something she would not do, or Emily is like this, and after a while she would work on the scenes, having in mind how Emily would react, how she would say this, how she would say that. But it's something that she builds layer by layer from the inside. From the inside, she's what obviously I love about Maggie's acting, and the aspect of Maggie's acting which I relate to the most, is that she has this tremendous experience, and she knows that you only have to do very, very little to convey your emotions on screen. Albrecht, the character of Nick Nolte's wife, hates his daughter-in-law, and she's going to struggle to keep the kid. But Albrecht has to deal with the situation, so he has to face her, explain her what is going to happen. He has to handle all the business of his son, to sell their apartment, pay debts, take care of the records, the rights of the record. It's just all that horrible paperwork and all that ugly stuff you have to do when someone died. What can they do, really? Should they take care of that woman? But the woman is really she's just this drug addict who's been responsible for the demise of their son, and possibly responsible for his death. But still, she's the mother of that kid. In the middle of this disaster, he thinks maybe he can try and get a better grasp on things, give a little bit more of himself, and try to be more understanding, and try to maybe achieve in his relationship with his grandson, and eventually with his daughter-in-law, what he never achieved with his own son. So he's the more human character, I suppose, in many ways in this story. Very scared. Frankly, I had no idea how I would function, or how you function with an actor like Nick Nolte. I think he's a genius. I think he's one of the great actors today, and but to me, he was just like out of some big American film, and just how will he adapt to my way of working? How can I adapt to his way of working? And ultimately, it's acting is something that's and making film is something that's very universal in many ways. If you take out all the bullshit, and if you take out the trailers and the special effects and etc., ultimately the relationship between the director and an actor is always the same. And ultimately an actor, it doesn't care if he has 1,000 extras behind him, or he doesn't care about the budget of the film, etc. He just cares about the emotions, if they're genuine, and the depth of what you give him